Hey, gang, hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. And for those that raced this weekend, I hope you had a great weekend of racing. So I want to piggyback and follow up on some of the stuff I've been talking about recently. Focus of the conversation today: consistency. And across the board, this is for athletes and coaches in a lot of different ways. And this could be a piece that's not necessarily first to mind with some athletes and coaches, and that's okay. But there's certain things I want to re-emphasize if I haven't initially emphasized it in a way that might be food for thought for you. So, I've mentioned a consistency in training, whether it be, and I'm a proponent of Tuesday, Friday workouts on a non-race week, and obviously Tuesday workout on a race week, and then your Friday or Saturday race. So this is with the assumption that we're racing every week or every other week or so on and so forth, once per week, and not more than that. But that's obviously not necessarily the reality for a lot of programs, a lot of coaches. I know some coaches are either motivated or required to race more than once. And I've proposed, if you have enough depth in your team, you can race some guys or gals, midweek, and the other guys and gals weekend. So that way they're not racing more than once a week. But I understand depth is not always a luxury that every team has, but it's just something to keep in mind, which is why the consistency I mentioned is a lot, because it's very hard to race twice a week and try to fit in workouts as well and expect to be sharp when it counts the most, which is the last part of the season, or the championship part of the season. We want our athletes racing the best and not racing their best mid-season and then kind of regressing because of either overtraining or over racing or whatnot. This is the reality. This is a thing. So it's just something to think about. And 2 hard days I'm a proponent of no matter what. You can fit in, and I've done this before, and you've seen my training programs. It would be a Tuesday workout and then some kind of a abbreviated speed session after a run on a Thursday. Because I know some coaches, and I've spoken to some coaches there, concerned about 3 easy days and then hopping into a race. They feel like the legs are going to be out of rhythm, which isn't necessarily the case depending on what you're doing. But even if you run, let's just say 5 to 6 times 200 after a Thursday run and progressing from 3K down to mile pace with a 200-meter jog, that's sufficient enough. Or you run a couple of 300s, 5, 10, 300, and mile 300, 3K down the mile pace, or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be balls to the wall, all out 200s, all out 300s, or anything like that. And this is enough speed development to obviously act as your complementary speed training in a way, but that's not going to take away from your race 2 days after that. So as a complementary session, this is something that I definitely encourage coaches to do if they're willing to do that. And I've spoken to coaches recently where sometimes they feel the need to add some extra workouts. So my athletes have been running well. I mean, if your athletes have been running well, good for them, and kudos to you guys and gals for doing the work that got you to that point. But keep in mind, more isn't always better. Okay, and speaking of the coaches too, sometimes they'll overdo it and feel like they need to sharpen their athletes when they're already sharp and they're already running well. We can ride that wave and enjoy what's working rather than have to add to it, because again, adding to it can be counterproductive more than can it be productive. So just food for thought. This is completely up to you as a coach or aspiring coaches or athletes to decide what you want to do or what's best for your athletes. That's totally up to you. This is something that I've tinkered with for the last 2 decades as a coach and gotten to the point where, whether it be middle distance or cross country or whatever it might be, gotten to the point where you find the balance that works for your boys, your girls, your women, your men, right? And it's, again, the same bowl of meat and potatoes doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So this is where the individualization of training comes into play. This is where the coaching with the eyes comes into play. It's just as important, if not more important, than coaching with the stopwatch. This is where I mentioned taking notes is important. That we can go back and look and say, okay, this worked, did that work? I can do a little bit more of this, or I can do a little bit less of this. I can maintain this, and so on and so forth. It also gives you an idea of when to do things and why to do things. And speaking of that timing consistency, one reason I'm a proponent of the one workout a week on a race week on a Tuesday is so that you can have an easy recovery day on Monday. Because if you race on Saturday and you can't confirm that your athletes have an easy run on Sunday to shake out the legs, then they might be off rhythm. They might be flat on Monday. If you're going from race to off day to workout, that's not necessarily or always the best recipe. It might work for some, but I've seen it more often than not work for people. So, and so just something to keep in mind. And this is why I say easy day Monday, especially if you're in school, if you work, helps you ease into the week. And then you do workout Tuesday, and you have a you have a Wednesday and Thursday run. It can be descending volume as well. Your midweek run can be the longest run. Your semi-long run, I should say, a Wednesday, and then you do a steady run on Thursday with some basic speed development at the end of it, and then you do a short, easy run on Friday, or your workout if you're not racing, okay, or the short, easy run on Friday if you are racing on Saturday, okay. And if you work out Friday, this is why I encourage folks to get in the long run on Saturday. That way, if you do happen to be not running, and depending on, and I've encouraged off days on Sundays, depending on how old you are and what you're doing. Not necessarily every Sunday, but high school freshmen, high school sophomores, to me, they have off every Sunday. And then juniors have off every other Sunday, and seniors have off every other Sunday. And college is a little bit of a different story. Okay? Then you're alternating the off day on Sunday with the easy day on Sunday, a little short recovery run. And then you back it up again with another short recovery run, even if you want to add some strides to it at the end of it, which is fine. But your short recovery run on Monday helps ease you back into the week, okay? And helps get your legs back into rhythm for a Tuesday workout. So just as a thought. And I'm looking down at my notes here. And I wanted to emphasize this. If you happen to have a breakthrough in track or cross country, a little breezy out here, by the way, as you can see. If you happen to have a breakthrough and a great race and whatnot, which is fantastic, but it might require a little bit of a longer recovery, meaning if you have a long workout, you have a great race on Saturday, you have a long workout on Tuesday, you might want to consider pushing that workout to Friday in a non-race week, or pushing it back a day to Wednesday and abbreviating it or modifying it a little bit. Okay, physiologically, it generally takes a little bit longer or a couple extra days to recover from a great race, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And this is going back to the more is better thing. You don't necessarily have to come back with another hard workout. Okay, this is where you can maintain stuff and let the racing be the hard efforts for the week. Ride that wave of good races, and and be consciously aware to not overdo it on the workouts, because it might cut into that long stretch of racing. We generally, physiologically speaking, too, and this is something I learned in the USATF coaching school, it's generally have about 6 to 8 weeks of peak running. And we want to maximize that period of great races. So we don't necessarily know when it's going to happen. This is why we try to cycle our training, but this is why the consistency in the training is so important. That way we can cycle accordingly. You can have your weeks 1 through 4, weeks 5 through 8, weeks 9 through 12, let's just say a 12-week season, and you have different training dynamics in each dynamic, but it gives the body 21 to 28 days to adapt to a certain training stimulus and phase into the next one. And do the same thing and phase into the last one. That way we're using that logic of running your best when it counts the most during championship season. The highest volume period will be the middle, highest volume and intensity, I should say, will be the middle. And if you feel a little bit of fatigue in training, that's okay. That's what the purpose of off days on occasion are for too, to help complement that, to help you recover properly. And that's why I have easy days on Monday and two easy days in between workouts, so that you have sufficient time to recover as well in between workouts, or in between a workout and a race, or 3 days. So that's why it's scheduled accordingly. So, and again, the consistency in which you do it can really set you up for success. If you deviate from the consistency, then this is where you can risk not performing your best, not performing your team not performing their best. So this is where laying things out and how you do it is up to you. I like to work backwards from the championship season and build out backwards and build the races accordingly, and then build my training around the races. But again, track is a little bit different, obviously. But if you're running a 5K every week, it's not as hard as running a 5K twice per week. So just something to keep in mind. So the consistency is key. Again, consistency in training, consistency in recovery, consistency in coaching. How you lay it out can set you up for a lot of success more often than not. So I want to emphasize that today. If you enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, you're an athlete or a coach, please hit that button. Okay. And I also do live streams. We can have a live dialogue. We can talk about anything you want. Any of my training videos, I can break it down for you. If you want to do a live stream, you want to do a Zoom video, we can do whatever you want. You have direct access to me as a coach too, blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com. Okay, and I'm speaking from experience, 2 decades plus, former competitive runner and a coach. I've coached at the high school, college, and post-college levels. Okay, and they're all different. They're all different. You have to factor in life. You have to factor in work. You have to factor in families. You got to factor in school. You have to factor in a lot of different things and build training around it. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that and learn from that from a lot of great coaches, a lot of great physiotherapists and scientists, exercise scientists and coaches. And so I'm grateful for the experience that I've had and the knowledge that I've been able to pick up. And I want to share it with you. I want you to have direct access to me so that you can learn. Okay, I'm here to help you become better, whether you're an athlete or a coach or aspiring, whether you're an athlete and an aspiring coach. Okay, so have a great week, everybody. Train hard, train smart, and I'll talk to you next time.